Someone at some point decided that a figure 8 lying on its side means infinity. You never questioned it. You were told this in school, and you accepted it as a given, like the multiplication tables or the fact that you have to wake up for work in the morning. But mathematics, as we are told, is the language of the universe, an exact, rational science with no room for anything superfluous. So answer a simple question. Why does a tripod have 3 legs? Because in the language of geometry, a triangle is the most rigid, most rational structure. Not the most stable, mind you, but the most rational. It's the perfect balance of weight, stability, mobility, and cost. In a world where engineers fight for every single gram in an aircraft's design, where business plans are built on ruthless optimization, there is no room for unnecessary details. And after all that, we are asked to believe that for the most fundamental concept of all, infinity, the most clumsy, unoptimized symbol was chosen. A sideways 8. Why not a circle? After all, the circle is the perfect embodiment of cycles. A vicious circle, going around in circles. A wedding ring, a symbol of infinite love, or whatever it is they usually mumble at the altar. Why not a Mobius strip? Now there is a true visual paradox, a perfect candidate to represent the infinite. But no, we were handed this lazy, tipped-over digit. And do you know why? Because it's not a symbol. It's a placeholder, a patch, a screen that was used to crudely and unconvincingly cover up something far more important, an ancient code we were never meant to read. And from this point, as always, things start to get interesting. In our world, there are various methods of information transfer. There's the standard method through words and books. There's the barbaric method, under pressure, when truths are hammered into your head without any need for proof. But there is a third way, an emergency protocol. It's used when a massive dataset, one capable of shattering an old worldview, needs to be transmitted without triggering the target's defense systems. Imagine a large camping tent. How do you get it through a narrow doorway? Simple. You fold it, you collapse it, compress it, remove all the empty space, turning a voluminous structure into a compact bundle. You have archived the tent. You do the same thing with information when you compress gigabytes of data into a small .zip file so it can fit through the narrow channel of the internet. Now, let's apply the same logic to human thought. We have the conscious mind. This is our user interface, our desktop. And we have the subconscious, a vast server room storing all of our data, including files we never knew existed. Between them stands a firewall, a security guard. Its job is to block any viruses, information that too radically contradicts your current operating system, your worldview. So, how do you transfer a massive volume of information into that server room? A direct transfer won't work. First, the firewall will block it as a threat. Second, the data channel itself is a tiny needle's eye. Trying to pour a lake of information through it would take more than a lifetime. The solution? the same as the tent. You must archive the massive volume of information into a tiny, inconspicuous file, into a symbol, an image. This file easily slips past the conscious firewall because it looks harmless, like a sideways 8. But once inside, in the subconscious, it begins to decompress. The horizontal 8 is not infinity. It is an ancient symbol which in the language of higher dimensions means the crossroads of worldviews. It is a point where different realities, different streams of time, different levels of perception intersect. It is a symbol of transition. And whoever replaced its meaning with the primitive concept of infinity did so deliberately, so that we, upon receiving this file, would be unable to decompress it, so that the key would never fit the lock.
So we're being lied to at the level of basic symbols. Should we then trust the official model of the world? The one where we're a speck of dust, lost in a vast emptiness that appeared from a chaotic explosion? Let's open the official user manual. The Milky Way. What is it? A bright, glowing, diffuse, whitish band, a spiral galaxy with 5 arms. Did you understand any of that? This pseudo-scientific jargon is written specifically so that you don't understand, so that you feel like an incompetent fool and stop asking inconvenient questions. It's a classic manipulator's trick. Do you have a PhD in astrophysics? No? Then sit down and be quiet. It's the same scheme used by any vast, faceless bureaucracy. It's the impenetrable terms and conditions you agree to without reading. We live in a world where deliberate obfuscation is the foundation of control. Why would we assume the science of the stars is any different? Now let's look at what our ancestors saw, at what doesn't require 25 years in a university to grasp, but is based on simple observation. They created globes of the sky, not maps, but globes. Try to make a globe of North America or a globe of the Pacific Ocean. It's absurd, right? You can only make a globe of a spherical object. The ancients knew that the sky was a sphere, more accurately, a system of nested crystal spheres, like a matryoshka doll. Look at the armillary spheres. These are not just toys. They're incredibly detailed, impossibly complex mechanical models of our world. And what do we see at their center? Not the Earth. At the center is a source of light, the sun. The Earth is the frame itself within which the entire mechanism operates. The official model has been turned inside out. We are not on a ball flying through space. We are inside the ball, and what we call the sky is an intricate mechanism, a clockwork machine. Here is the proof, something that cannot be hidden. The sidereal day and the solar day have different lengths. The celestial sphere with all the stars completes a full rotation in 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds. But the sun takes exactly 24 hours. Every single day, the starry globe outpaces the sun by 4 minutes. It seems like a trivial detail, but it is precisely because of this 4-minute difference that the seasons exist. Imagine the Milky Way not as a distant galaxy, but as a tilted belt on the inner surface of this celestial sphere. This belt is the engine, the drive chain. The sun, caught on this belt, is forced to make its yearly journey. For 3 months, it climbs up the belt, spring, reaching its highest point, summer. Then for 3 months, it descends, autumn, reaching its lowest point, winter.
and then it climbs again. A mathematically precise, perfect mechanism. Do you really believe that something like this could emerge from a chaotic Big Bang? Or does it look more like we're living inside a giant functioning machine? And in this context, astrology is no longer fortune-telling. It's an attempt to read the technical manual for this machine, to predict its future cycles.
If we are living inside a machine, then what are we? Users or just another component of the machine itself? Let's talk about thought. What is it? From a physics perspective, the activity of our brain is the generation of electromagnetic waves at specific frequencies: delta, theta, alpha, beta. Thoughts are standing waves that create a constant electromagnetic field around our heads. Noise. In all the ancient practices, from Christian hesychasm to Buddhist Zen, the primary goal was always the same: to stop the inner dialogue. Why? They spoke of the descent of the Holy Spirit, of achieving nirvana. Let's translate that into our language. When you stop thinking, when your brain ceases to generate this constant noise, your personal electromagnetic field weakens, and at that moment, you get the chance to connect to a different external field, to the universal Wi-Fi, to the main server that New Agers call info field, and which religions call God. When you stop thinking, when your brain ceases to generate this constant noise, your personal electromagnetic field weakens, and at that moment you get the chance to connect to a different external field, to the universal Wi-Fi, to the main server that New Agers call info field, and which religions call God. This isn't mysticism, it's physics. Look at the fresco of the Pentecost. It's a perfect diagram of a network connection to a central server. Look at the icons depicting a stream of light descending upon Christ. This is the descending vortex of energy which enters through the crown of the head as soon as the user shuts down their internal noise generator.
The word spirit comes from the Latin spiritus, the same root as the word spiral. The Holy Spirit is the holy spiral, a vortex of information. Modern science, by the way, has already stumbled upon this. In 2023, MIT announced, "We have learned to read inner speech using neural networks. They can read neural signals before you even move your lips. You merely think a phrase, and the program already recognizes it." Is this useful for paralyzed individuals? Absolutely. But if the technology already exists in a lab, what's stopping it from being integrated into your headphones or your smartphone? Corporations are openly funding the development of brain-computer interfaces. The goal is to allow a person to type with the power of thought. They are already developing lenses that track micro-intentions by monitoring the movement of your pupils. You haven't even consciously realized you want coffee, but the lens has already caught your intention and is ready to place the order. Now put it all together. A device that tracks your pulse, your breathing, and your eye movements. A neural network that predicts your emotions, and a technology that reads your inner speech. And we still think we are in control.
So where does that leave us? We are living inside a giant clockwork mechanism that we mistake for the universe. We are governed by the cycles of this machine, which we do not understand. We have been coded since childhood with false symbols to deny us access to the true information. And now, technology is approaching the point where it can breach the last bastion of our freedom, our own thoughts. What is to be done? It's too late to wrap your head in tinfoil. It is impossible to delete yourself from the system. The global artificial intelligence has already studied our texts, our images, our languages. The final frontier that remains is the structure of our thought itself. If it learns to understand not what we say, but how we think, it will gain absolute power, not over society, over each of us, at the level of pure intention. As the great prophet of our simulated age, Philip K. Dick, once wrote, "Reality is that which you, when you stop believing in it, does not go away." A quiet revolution is happening. The struggle for the world you see on the news is just a distraction. The real battle is not for territory or resources. It is for consciousness, for the right to think a thought that is truly your own. You now see the glitch in the code, and you can't unsee it. If you've noticed similar inconsistencies in the system, you know where to find us. End of transmission.